Hello, hello, my friends. AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink. Welcome back to my face and my card making space. And a card that has two types of glitter, flat shaker element, and an action wobble. I had fun. And it uses all oldie but goodie products. In fact, the main set came out years ago. So, as always, everything I'm going to use in today's video is listed and linked in the description box below the video. My links are affiliate links. That just means that if you click on one of my links and end up placing an order, I get a little kickback from that at no extra cost to you. That is what helps, keeps the lights on, pays the bills, enables me to keep bringing out content. And yeah, let's jump in and make this card. So this is the NARWHAL Friends stamp set from CZ Design. This is one that came out years ago, literally. It came out like 4 years ago, something. And I've never used it. I don't know why. I think mostly because it kept getting like stuck behind other products and I forgot about it. Great job, Mimi. But pulled it out. And I'm inking up a couple of the images from the set with Simon's Rainbow Splash black ink. I have done a couple videos. They were a while ago using this ink because Simon discontinued their intense black ink, which was my Copic or alcohol marker go-to stamping ink for I don't even know how many years. And I think it was in a live stream that we were talking about it, and I said I would test out the Rainbow Splash black ink because it seemed very similar. And it is. I've already used it on a couple other previous videos, and yeah, it doesn't smear. I use it with, this is Simon's Smooth White 120 pound cardstock. For me, this is just another go-to that I've been using for years with alcohol marker coloring, but you can use whatever you want. You can use whatever alcohol markers you want. Today I went with Copics because they're sitting right in front of me, and yeah, very simple coloring. I've sped this up in editing. I don't color quite this quickly, but this is still very simple coloring. Everything is a 2-color blend. So 2 markers. That's it for each like little color combo. And I do the darkest first and then the lighter shade to blend it all together. That's also just a convenience thing. If you are newer to alcohol markers, it is very much recommended that you go lightest to darkest. It gives you a little bit more control because it's easier to add darker color. You can't really take it away. But I just put the darker color on and then blend it out. And with these little guys, they're so ridiculously cute. I don't think anyone can mess this up. It's just, look at them. So I was in a very just bluey purple, kind of aqua purple mood. So I already had ink pads chosen for my background, and then I just grabbed Copic markers that went well with those colors, and we'll get to those colors in a minute. So that's what I'm using to color in my little narwhals. Like, seriously. I'm like kicking myself. It's like, why have I not? I remember it was forever ago. I've pulled out this set many times to use it, and I don't know, life just keeps interrupting. So anywho, after I was done coloring them in, this is going to be the first way to add some sparkle. Another favorite go-to, been using this for years and years and years. My Tonic, Aqua Shimmer, glitter gloss, brush pen. Looks like nothing on screen, always. Trust me, love, 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 love. So very much. I have backups on backups of this because I use it a lot and I love it. And I will show later with my flashlight. You can see the like insane sparkle because on camera it literally looks like I'm not doing anything, but trust me, it's super sparkly. So I added it to their little horns and then their tummies just because I could. And I did that first because I'm adding white gel pen as the highlights. And I know for me this is my Jelly Roll 10, like the widest gel pen. I know for me that if I did the gel pen first and then went over it with that Aqua Shimmer brush pen, the Aqua Shimmer brush pen will like dissolve the white gel pen. It will smear it. So rule of thumb for me is white gel pen highlights, very, very last thing. Let everything dry, add whatever, then add the white gel pen highlights. So I went around, added random little lines and dots till I was happy with them. And then I used the coordinating wafer dies to die cut these images out. So line those up and then ran that through my die cut machine so that both of these are die cut. So I've got my two little narwhals, and they're all sparkly and highlighted and good to go. So then for my background, I have a piece of the same smooth white cardstock. I'm sticking it to a grip mat, and then I'm going to use 4 different shades of Simon's Pawsitively saturated inks, which I'll have listed and linked, but it's TIDEPOOL, Surf, Heather, and Orchid. And right now I am using a very, very light hand. Like I'm tapping my brush in the ink pad, and then I'm tapping it off, like either on my work surface or on the inside of the ink pad lid, and very light-handed. I'm not going in like full strength with any of these inks. I want this part to be really, really soft, and I'm also not worried about the blend. I'm not trying to blend these colors together at all. I'm just covering the cardstock with the color, and I'm doing it sort of randomly. I had thought about doing it more in an ombre, like kind of lightest, darkest sort of a thing, even though these aren't an ombre of colors. But instead, I just did it randomly like this, just kind of spots of these different colors. And then once I've got the color on, again, very lightly, I'm going to use another very oldie but goodie. This is the Waves stencil. Oh my, this is really old. Goodness, this is over a decade old. Still available. Who'd have thunk? So I put the stencil over top of the background, and the grip mat holds the stencil. But because this is one of those stencils where, how do I explain this? Like the pieces are very open. So if I was to go in a swirling motion, a circular motion, the pieces of the stencil would move, because they're not connected in a lot of spots. They're just, it's very open. It's kind of the same idea as when I use a straight line stencil, like a diagonal type stencil, when there's not a lot of connecting areas to keep everything secure. One way to get around that, if it is something that is frustrating, is to maybe spray some low tack adhesive like pixie spray. I didn't worry about that. I used my brushes. I went back and forth, as you could see. I'm kind of dragging the brush in the direction of the pattern of the stencil. Also because these inks will smooth and dry, smooth out. But I'm also going to add more sparkle spray to this, and then the shaker bits. So I wasn't aiming for a perfect blend. But I went in heavier handed with those inks, the same colors over the same spots. So that's why I went very light handed with the first bit. So then I've got this pattern going on. And then sparkle number 2. This is my Tsukineko Sheer Shimmer Craft Spray, the sparkle one. Love. This stuff sells out usually every time I try and pull it out. It did go back in stock not too long ago, and I was updating everyone on my social media. I was like, hello, it's in stock, get some. I have the big refill bottle of this. It's fabulous. So you just shake it up really well. Super, super, super well. Make sure there's nothing sitting in the bottom. And then I hold it about a foot or 2 above my work surface. And I laid out my flower sock cloth. And then I sprayed it. And it will not always be perfectly even. Like you can see there's some splotchy blobs. I'm fine with that because it's sparkle. And then you let it dry. And then you are left with this. This is why I love this stuff. It doesn't necessarily come off, because I know people are going to ask. I don't use sealants. Don't ask me about that kind of stuff. I don't seal my artwork. Like Tim Holt says, don't lick your artwork. I don't worry about it. With this, it honestly doesn't matter because this is going to get covered anyway. But yeah, it's lovely. I love my sparkle spray. It does come in other finishes. People have been asking me about that. There's a frost one. The frost one is more of a whitish cast. And then there's rose gold and gold. They're all gorgeous. They really are. The sparkle, though, is my absolute favorite. But the other ones are very, very pretty. And if you're a magpie like me and you love sparkle, check them out. They're fun. So anywho, to make this a flat shaker, I will link to my flat shaker playlist at the end of this video. There's a ton of videos in there. I have done flat shakers in every possible way, I think, over the years. And I've done a ton of videos. So one of my favorite ways is just like this. I reuse old packaging because I just save it for specifically things like this. I cut the packaging to larger than my background. And then to adhere it, I use a really strong adhesive. So today I'm using Redline adhesive. Score tape works wonderfully as well. I do not like using liquid adhesive for this. You can if you have a ton of patience to let it dry, but also it's not guaranteed. and I wouldn't risk it unless you want to send it to someone, like give it to someone that you're like, you don't mind if it falls apart and glitter falls everywhere. You could. There's occasions for that, and there's people for that, you know. But good strong adhesive. And as you can see, I was sealing up. I seal up all 3 sides along the back. The 4th side, I put the adhesive in place, but I don't remove the backing. I don't seal it because we need to put the bits in there. And then that little white tool I was using, that's Simon Says Stamp's little adhesive lifter. It's got little teeth on it. That's why I've been using the red line adhesive again, because removing the backing's a pain in the butt. But that little adhesive lifter does the trick. And then I've got a piece of paper towel there because that helps cling to the red line backer tape, because that stuff is also very annoying. And paper towel clings to it. And then I just take the piece of paper towel, shake it over my garbage, and we're good to go. And I reuse the same piece of paper towel until there's nothing left of it. So anyway, for the shaker bits, I made my own little custom mix of 3 different colors of the Trinity Stamps Sparkle Spots. These are flat. If you want bling that is like flat, no lift volume to it whatsoever, these are pretty cool because they're very flat. They're literally like flat pieces of circular pieces of sparkle of like glitter. They're fun. I have them in almost all the colors. So I made a custom mix of 3 of them, which was like sea salt, hollow, the silver, and celeste. And I mixed more than I needed. I will not lie. After I was done this, I sat. It honestly only took maybe 2 minutes. It didn't take very long at all. I sat and separated those pieces and put them back in the packaging because it bothered me and I found it therapeutic. It was like sorting puzzle pieces or something. Anyway, I also added some chunky glitter to this because when you're doing flat shakers, that's where you can pull out some of that extra glitter. I don't know about you guys, but I have unbelievable amounts, not only of bling, but like glitter, all the things. So once that was all in there and I was happy with it, that's when you seal up the final side. And then I use my scissors and trim off the corner bits that are hanging off on the back because they fold over and hang off. So I remove that and there's my flat shaker. So it's fun. You get the shakety bits and you're not adding like a ton of bulk like you do when you're using foam for shakers. So the takeaway with that though is you got to use either flatter elements or like glitters, things like that. It's not going to be quite as shaky as a traditional shaker card, but it's still super fun. So while I was, going on about shaker bits, I white heat embossed the sentiment onto a scrap of Audrey Blue cardstock. The sentiment's from that little NARWHAL Friends set. And then I die cut it with another oldie but goodie, the Sentiment Labels wafer dies. And then trimmed off the ends with my paper trimmer. And then I popped that onto this little panel, the shaker bit, with just some thin foam squares. And then for the NARWHAL, I'm going to pop him up with a little action wobble, a mini action wobble to be precise. I pulled out both sets. That's the normal sized action wobble. They're quite large. The minis are the ones I use the most. I don't think it really matters what side you press. I get asked that. I grab whatever. You peel off the backing, you press it to your little element. You peel off the backing again, and then you press it to your card front, whatever. So I literally just pressed it to the acetate, and then he's going to be a wobble, and I'll show that at the end as well. So, yeah. Like I said, like technically 3 types of glitter on this card, if you include the like shaker bits. Anywho, the card base is a top folding A2 white note card, 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I stamped another sentiment from the little NARWHAL Friends set with the black ink, and then adhered that second little NARWHAL on the inside. So that finished off the inside. And then I'm going to adhere the shaker panel to this. And I'm using the Pawsitively Perfect Craft Glue. This came in the July card kit from Simon Says Stamp, and this glue's like available. So still, trying it out. It adhered really well. It adhered really well. Usually I'll use like the red line tape or score tape to adhere these flat panels to the card bases, but I thought, why not? I'll just use the glue, and it worked. And then as a final little embellishment, I've got these Trinity stamps. These are the heliotrope. I think that's how you pronounce it. Hearts. They're just like lavender colored and super pretty. I have these in like all the colors too because I couldn't resist. I have so much bling, but it's like, ooh, hearts, and they're shiny. So I just put a couple of them onto this and then very carefully added tiny dabs of this glue. In fact, I ended up adding too big of a blob for this tiny little heart, so I just quickly wiped that away with my finger because I'm adhering it to acetate. So I picked those up with my little embellishment wand and just adhered them into place with the glue, and then I just had to let that dry. And then once it's dry, this card is good to go. So we've got glitter and shaky bits, you know, subtle. It's subtle shaker sound, but still super fun. And then the wobble part, which is always super fun. And the best thing about the wobble is it goes flat, which I'm going to show. So this card, for even with all the like glitter and shaker and wobbly and everything, flat. Super flat. Love. Absolutely love it. So there it is. And then glittery. So we've got that sparkle spray background. Love. And then the Aqua Shimmer clear glitter gloss on the NARWHALs. Also love. Very sort of similar, these two, in terms of like the type of sparkle. And you can never have too much, in my opinion. So that was the card. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I very much appreciate y'all hanging out with me with these videos and thumbs upping and commenting. It really does help. It just tells the robot overlords you like what you see, and maybe the robot overlords will push the video out a little bit more. So I appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't. I'd love to have you, and I'll see you all very soon in the next video. Bye. Thank you so much to my amazing Patreon supporters. For anyone that might be interested in joining my Patreon community and supporting me, the link to my Patreon is in the description box below the video. For everyone else, as always, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't, I'd love to have you. And here's a couple other videos for you to check out in case you missed them. Bye!